Good evening. This is Brenda Page, and I am working on my final assignment for assignment 8 to Intro to Computers. And the question is, what was the first technology that I remember ever having? Um, it's a long time ago, so it's kind of difficult to say for sure, but I was in a household full of 8 kids. So there's quite a few of us. So having a TV was probably not first on the priority list. We did have a stereo system, and it was this huge piece of furniture, credenza style, and it was a photo, I mean, not a photo album, but a LP radio and a 8-track cassette players, which they don't even make anymore. And I remember as a little girl that it was my dad's, and he would always play 8-track tapes. And so we grew up on Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers and Perry Como and people of that era, because that's what he was partial to country music. Later, I remember we had a TV, just one in the household, and it was a black and white, and it had antennas for reception. Um, and you had to get up and turn the channels. There was no remotes or anything like that. So it was kind of cool in one respect, but glad it's moved away from that at this point. Um, and I remember having a phone, and it was one of those desktop models, and it had the rotary dial. So it took forever to make a phone call because you had to wait for it to spin back. Luckily for us at the time, we didn't need to use area codes, so it did shorten the number by 3, so that was kind of nice. Um, I remember as we got a little bit older, we did get a second TV, and this one was much was bigger, and it was actually in color, which was cool. Um, but if I remember right, it still had the rabbit ears, though. I don't think. Um, I'm almost positive growing up we didn't have the cable or internet or anything. I mean, I'm not even sure that internet existed at that point, but um, we just had the outside antenna that was on the house. Um, but we did progress, and as I got a little bit older, the phone changed. It became a wall-mounted phone, but it was still a rotary dial at the time. Um, but then when that one got replaced, it was still a wall-mounted phone, but it did have at least the push buttons, so that was much nicer. And by then, I was a little bit older, so I was trying to call out to my girlfriends and that kind of thing. So I was really grateful to have a push-button phone. Um, and at that time, my brothers were older than myself, and the music kind of changed in the house, and they'd play their albums. So Aerosmith and Foreigner and Bad Company and all that became the new music, the new Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, which I absolutely love because I'm more of a rock and roll person, so that was pretty cool. Um, the first piece of electronic or technology that I remember having was a little black and white, like a 13-inch television that we got for my room. And I say that it was mine, but really it was a gift for my sister and I. We shared a room at the time. But she never really watched much TV, so I used it most of the time. So I say it was mine. Um, as I became an adult, I remember purchasing a mobile phone, and it literally was. It was in my car, and it was screwed into the base of my car right by my console. I was so excited because cell phones weren't popular. They used to have Motorola, the big cell phone, but I had one that was actually mounted in my car, which I absolutely loved. And I was so excited about it. I actually got one for my girlfriend too, for Christmas. She was happy with that. Later on, we switched over and I got a cell phone and all that. But um, I remember that being my first one. I'm. I think about where we were and where we've come from. I don't remember having a computer literally until, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. At work was the first one we had, and was that was almost 18 years ago. But I didn't have one at home. Um, it wasn't, like I said, until probably 10, maybe 15 that I got a home computer, and it was those big desktop style computers. Um, but we've kind of switched up now. We have a three laptops in the household. My husband has one, I have one, and my daughter has one. And we purchased my son a tablet that he uses because he's always in his car. He'd rather live in his car than be inside my house most of the time. Um, Young adults, they're crazy, but it works for him because he still can get the Wi-Fi that's in the house. And so he's kind of in his own little world and leaves us alone. So it's kind of nice. Um, we have switched to cable and internet. We've tried having the satellite TV. That's not very good for internet around here where I live, but the cable wasn't too bad. But I mean the dish. But we have switched over to cable, so the internet is much better, which comes in handy when you're trying to do classes or recording a video like I'm doing now. Um, I have a TV now in every room of my house, including my bathroom. I put a small wall-mounted TV in there. So when I go in and take my long baths, which I've been known to do for 2 hours at a time, it used to be that was my only privacy with having younger kids around. Um, they knew they weren't allowed in there when I was taking my bath so that I could relax and enjoy my time. So it was really nice. Um, when I think about where technology will be in about 20 years, it just boggles me. It blows my mind because I've seen where it's come from in 20. So where it's going to be in 20 years, I kind of envision, and this may be kind of far-fetched, but I think that we're all going to be uh, geared up with microchips. I think we'll all have those somewhere in our bodies, probably more like our arm or whatever. And with that microchip, we will be able to do all of our banking. Um, it will carry all of our personal data and our health records, everything. So, just the scan of a wrist, um, everything will be known about us. And I think that sounds kind of cool to some degree if it prevents identity theft, if it makes uh, life easier, if I don't have to carry a big purse all the time, that works for me too. Um, but I think they will, it'll give us access to any computer system anywhere we are. We don't have to sign into anything, just like scan the wrist and brings up whatever it is that you want to do. Um, our cars, I think, is another piece of technology that will change. I envision that we won't be using gasoline. Um, it'll be some other form of fuel, or more towards the battery, like we have. It's kind of starting a little bit now, but I think it'll be a much nicer battery, and there'll be plug-ins everywhere we go. Um, but no more gasoline that can pollute the environment and that kind of thing. And I think that maybe they'll even be able to fly, kind of similar to the Jetsons. Who knows? And at the very least, maybe be able to float on water. Um, that would be pretty awesome. No more use for bridges and that kind of thing. We can just take your car across the river or whatever. I mean, ocean would be a little difficult, but small bodies of water, I think it could be capable of doing that. I think the cell phones, as we know them today, will probably still be in existence. I think they'll be a lot more advanced in that they won't use these big ion batteries that have a chance of blowing up like my Note 7 did. Um, I think they'll be installed more with those little batteries like you used to put in your watches. Um, but I think the longevity of those batteries will be much longer. Um, and they'll be disposable and you can replace it yourself. I think that's one avenue that the cell phones may go to. I'm not sure. I hope I'm around in 20 years. I don't know that I will be, but I'd love to be able to see how things progress and where we go from here. You know, I've witnessed the last 20, so it'd be kind of cool to witness the next 20. But at the very least, the biggest thing I'll be able to tell my great grandchildren is I remember when this happened or when that happened, and compare how things are. Just, you know, as an example, going from a typewriter, manual typewriter, to a keyboard, you know, on your computer. That's changed in the last 20 years. Some kids nowadays don't even know what a typewriter is. So that's just as crazy to me. But I look forward to it and we'll see how things go. That's it. I hope you have a great day and thank you so much for this class. I've totally enjoyed it.